Adams here. Welcome back to the Rise of the Young podcast. Today, I am very honored to have Mr. Dr. J.Pratt here with us alongside Jacqueline Burnett, who will be helping enhance the conversation today. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Jacqueline's good at enhancing.
So Dr. Pratt, you are a licensed psychologist and hypnotherapist. And the first question I want to ask you is, for those who may not know what that means, can you tell them a little bit about what you do with these clients you work with?
Okay, so I see a wide variety of clients, and I've been doing it for quite a while, and I've used a variety of tools. And yes, I'm a clinical psychologist and board certified in hypnosis. So we want to provide them with tools to help them accomplish their goals. So many psychologists just kind of focus on problems, etc. I'm very good at helping fix problems. I've been doing this for a while. And then my goal was always to not just take somebody from a difficult position to neutral, but why stop there? We want to take them to enhancement and to success and to accomplish their goals and objectives and to have a wonderful time doing it.
Very cool. So yeah. I know that for example, you've done some work with Jacqueline, and I'd love for you to give the people some understanding of what that process looks like. And Jacqueline, you can tag in on this as well. But when you're working with the client, how does that go when you're first connecting with them, and how do you analyze them when dealing with them?
Right. So what happens is I take a history, and we figure out what the true goals are. Now, for some people, let's say if it was a terrible trauma to get through, let's say, and I've had kidnap cases and things like that. So many times people think, okay, I just want to get over this trauma. So that's half of it. So the person gets over the trauma, but then what do you want to do? Then you want to have a wonderful life. So whether it's in business or accomplishing objectives or sports, or as some of our other friends are doing fabulous work, it's a variety of 4 major tools. I've written 4 books, and so each one kind of focuses in on this. But the first book I wrote was 400 pages. I'm an extrovert, and most psychologists are not. And so it was 400 pages. I had a co-author, so on hypnosis. So if we don't use hypnosis right away, what we want to do is we want to understand the problem, what the goals are, and help them to clear any debris that's in the way or associated with this. The second book that I wrote, which Rob Jarredek keeps calling hyper success. It's hyper performance. He has a little block on that. He's very funny with that. He goes, "Oh yeah, George, yeah, you're right." So and he's so funny. And so that's a book on helping people achieve their goals. The third book was a book on tapping. It was the second book on tapping, and tapping is an amazing tool to break through any issue, which is wonderful. And it's powerful, and it's rapid, and it's really easy, and it's easy to do on Skype and FaceTime. And I mean, people obviously, come into the office too in La Jolla, but they don't need to, because we have Skype and FaceTime and Zoom and all these other things. And so then the fourth one was Code to Joy, which is a book on kind of putting it all together. And as a matter of fact, it just came out as an Audible this week.
Wow.
Code to Joy. Yeah. So it's using the subconscious, using tapping, using some tools also called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. When what happens is, if you are stuck on some issue, if you do some eye movements, it changes some characteristics in the brain. So, which is nice. So there's a lot of tools that are available, and it's positive, and Now, did I hear that you had Larry King on your show?
Yes, I did. Back in December.
Oh, I heard about that. Well, I was on his show 4 times. I was the
Yeah.
psychologist on the show, and was he being funny on the show with you?
I would say so. He was talking about his favorite jokes.
Yeah, he is really a character, and he and I actually did a wedding together.
Wow.
Because I know him pretty well, and I was doing the ceremony. This is 200 people for his producer. His producer had come to my seminar that I do in Hawaii on the beach every year, and so they wanted me to marry him, and Larry was the guest host. So he's just hysterical. Anyway, my parents were very thrilled that I was on the show.
Love that.
This was a while back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was so a little bit about the issues.
Yeah.
Now, Jacqueline, how did you like the experience?
I absolutely loved the experience, and we did both ways. We did when I actually came into your office in La Jolla, and we did Skype. Both experiences were absolutely amazing, and I'm still reaping the benefits. So my superpower, and I want to talk about superpowers too a little bit.
I like that.
The superpower that you've downloaded into me and helped me enhance is focus to finish. That's the line that literally goes through my head when I start a task. I literally I have that like tunnel vision to finish it, and it's like, for example, I've been writing a book nonstop, and I've finished writing my first draft within 3 weeks. Like it's been tremendous. And yeah, it's amazing.
That's fantastic. And as I remember, we did do some hypnosis on that, and I used those phrases in the hypnotic preparation, focus to the finish. And that is a wonderful tool to have, because so many times people will stop short, or they'll have a trauma, or they'll have something in the way, and you want to get fully through to where you want to go to achieve your goals, which you have.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I want to touch on too, can you talk about the importance of clearing traumas, or traumas that you might not even known you had, to actually allow you to flow into your optimization zone?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. When you came into the office, I showed you something that's called energy psychology. We have, number one, the number of neurons that fire per second at the conscious level is 20 to 40 neurons firing per second at the conscious level. At the subconscious level, also called the unconscious level, it's 20 to 40 million neurons firing per second. So here's the conscious mind, and here's the subconscious, unconscious times 100. So when you have those tools, it's very easy to achieve goals, unblock things, etc. And then what I did with you, we did a little energy technique. We're surrounded by a field of energy. And so what I had you do was put a hand on the top of your head, and then hold your arm to the side, and to say your name. And when you did that, your arm was weak because you had a block regarding the issue, and you were short-circuited. So just fixing the short circuit, which takes just a matter of minutes, helps people 20% like that.
Wow.
And so that's just the start, which is nice. And so that what happens with the energy psychology, when you can correct a problem and have you be strong on your own name, as opposed to my name is George, my name is Zelda. See, that would show that I had a block. And it's also possible to do this over Skype and FaceTime and things like that. But we're all surrounded by that field of energy, and you want to use all of those neurons, and we want you to use all of the body's energy system. And it's very, very powerful. I mean, we're talking about optimal performance in this situation. I mean, I have lots of professional athletes, kind of a spectrum of folks. And I know that we can accomplish the objective for everybody that we see if they do the process properly, even if it's long distance.
Yeah, and
Which
I want to ask you about. I know that you brought up Rob Jarredek earlier, and I've had drama on the show multiple times, and I've hosted some events with him, and we had Rob speak at one. And I know that he talks about you so much in not only his content, but some of the interviews that he's done. So I'd love for you to expand on how you guys connected and what you've done with Rob, because I know he attributes so much of his focus and success in his early stages of his life to your practices.
Yes, well, Rob is now a close friend. I mean, we've worked together for decades now. But when he started, he's obviously driven and a sharp guy and funny guy, but he was pretty stuck, and things just would not work out. So he, I don't know how he found me, but we started working together. We did some of the energy work first. He usually kind of thinks about the hypnosis, which he loves, and which is nice. And so we all have events from our lives that sometimes they seem like a very small issue. Sometimes they seem like a huge issue. The little small issues, it's a little bit like there are small issues and then there are huge issues, but even small issues can block you. And if something that really traumatized you or hurt your feelings, and even if you don't know it, you can pull it up with these energy techniques to find out what the age is. And most of the time we can identify the issue and then we just clear it right there. And it doesn't take much time to clear issues. So when that started happening with Rob, the blocks started dissolving, and we would clear things from back in early childhood, adolescence, frustration with one thing or another. But he is so devoted to doing the right thing, and he is one of the nicest people I've ever met. I mean, I'll give you an example in a moment, but he's pretty hilarious. But he had these blocks like we all do. If you think back and if you grew up and there were problems in the family with your parents or divorce or difficulty or whatever, you have to clear those, but it doesn't take long to clear a problem. And even if it's a fairly substantial problem, which is interesting. And so with Rob, and he's allowed me to talk about this. In fact, he talks about it all the time. At first I could say nothing. I said, he signed a release and he said, I'm talking about you. And so, we've had a good time. So we took out some of those disappointments and those traumas or even injuries that when you clear those, things are just kind of smoother and it's easier to come to, so that it doesn't block you. So we started clearing those, and then things started getting better and better right away. So when we cleared all of the debris that we could from childhood, adolescence, etc., then we could start doing hypnosis. And he really loves that. I mean, he calls it Hypnotized for Success.
Okay.
And I'll give you one example about how nice he is. He brought. I have consulted with his whole team, and he was down on a Saturday at my home here, and we decided to go down to the ocean, which is just a few blocks away, to just do a little work down there. Well, this is a part of the ocean where most people don't, and there are not much traffic. Yep. So we're down there. He's facing the ocean, and in 2 minutes, some cars stopped. They recognized him from his profile facing the ocean, and there were 5 people that stopped. He went in and they put their window down. He shook their hand and asked them what their names were.
Wow.
Now that is pretty awesome. So we finished that little phase, and a group of Japanese tourists on the what are the kind of the stand-up things with the little I forgot what it's called. The what?
Segway?
Segways, yes.
Yeah.
There was a group of them. He took pictures with all of them, signed
Very cool.
name, did everything he could to just be so nice. And that's the way he is.
Yeah.
He's smart, and he's just gotten sharper, and he's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, now he was, well, it was a kind of a bare start for him.
Yeah.
And then now to have 19 companies in incubation and be worth what he's worth, and married to, I know his wife very well, who's a total sweetheart,
Yep.
Bree. And so married to a Playboy playmate. People are saying, you overshot the runway because you have to dial it back. You can't take over the entire world.
Yeah.
He's going to take over the world.
That's
He's going
great.
to take over the world.
Very cool. Jacqueline, I'll let you ask the next question.
That's awesome. Well, just to bring it back a little bit too, for someone who's listening that might have some traumas, or they might not be sure if they're perceived to be a trauma, what are some of the ways someone can just go ahead and help relieve that trauma, or at least get back to center and then go from there? Yeah,
if you know that you've had some traumatic circumstances, the books that I've written can help you to identify. Then when you identify what the issue, then you can choose some protocols in the books to help you to get over it. Now, it could help, work with somebody, psychologist or someone that's trained in these methods. And that's what I do in the office on Skype and FaceTime. But they're in the books, all have some evaluations that'll guide you to help you to understand how these blocks that we think are no big deal make a big, a powerful block to your achieving your goals.
Yeah.
Because if you don't feel worthy of success, you're not going to get there.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that everybody works on is how can we shine more brightly?
Yeah. I want to ask
you can test it. Yeah.
I was going to say, how did you get involved with everything you're doing today? When did this start, and how did your life, what were you doing in high school and college that led you to diving deep into this field?
When I had a near-death experience when I was just turning 7.
Wow.
Botched surgery, and my folks were told that I wasn't going to make it. Well, I made it. We transferred hospitals, got some different doctors.
At 7?
I spent a month in the hospital. Yeah, it was a botched surgery. So a month there, I had a lot of time to think. I mean, even at 7, and I thought, well, this is BS, and I want to do these things. So I want to accomplish some goals. And so what happened then is went back to school, played sports, was active. And then, but what that did is that taught me that I don't take life for granted. And I wanted to do something that was significant to help people because I was helped. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of a big one. So then we'll go, through high school. I had a rock and roll band. Cool. And I'm still a voting member for the Grammys.
Wow.
And which is bad. So, which is not bad. And so I've had a great time doing that. And then I went to college, and I was interested in psychology. I wanted to help people. And so then I grew up in Minnesota. And so that's why I can understand Rob, growing up where he did.
Yep.
The snow both places.
Ohio.
So I thought, okay, after college and after getting my doctoral degree, I want to go to where it's warm. So, and that's where I am right now in La Jolla, California. But I wanted to help people. So I always did some teaching at the university level. I still do. And I'm a past chairman at the hospital that I have the private practice in too. And so I wanted to unblock myself for optimal performance. So I started working on myself, and I would do these subconscious techniques, these techniques using EMDR and these other tools, and these energy techniques. And the energy book that I co-authored it's called Instant Emotional Healing Acupressure for the Emotions. Now, what I liked about that, one of our consultants on that book was the sixth person to walk on the moon.
Wow.
Yeah, Edgar Mitchell.
Wow.
Edgar Mitchell.
Very cool.
And so I've had fabulous people that have helped me, and so I like to help people, and so that's what it's just exciting.
Yeah.
To help people be better, so I can do it emotionally. Then that helps with the health, and then that helps with the success. And to achieve the goals, first you want to identify what you want to accomplish in life, write it down, and many people probably are familiar with the original Think and Grow Rich.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's the Think and the Grow Rich, the legacy, and actually Rob and I are in there together, talking about how to achieve. Yeah. So how to achieve goals, and when you use these tools, because some of the energy tools look kind of funny because we're tapping on acupuncture points in the face, chest, and hands. And so you might be doing something like this. Now people can get a free download on my website, drgeorgepratt.com, of a half an hour deep relaxation experience.
Okay.
That's very nice. But there's on my website, there's lots of interviews and discussions so people can learn about these techniques, and there's examples. So just drgeorgepratt.com.
Love it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm curious too, can you talk about the energetic field of someone, for someone who's listening that doesn't really know what that is, or they're just learning to understand the energy world? Can you dive into a little bit of that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are all surrounded by a field of energy, and there's ways that it becomes empowered and stronger, and other ways where it gets in your way. For example, there's there's some examples on the website too. So let's say if you were going to test someone else, let's say a friend of yours, and since you know how to do some of these things from us working together, if there's a technique that is good for a kind of a 20% improvement immediately. So let's say if you were here with me right now, and we had you put your hand over the top of your head and hold your arm out to the side, right? And then I would press on your arm while you're maintaining this. And then I would, so for right now, because you are aligned, I can tell. So you'd be stronger like this. And then when you turned your hand over and I pressed on your arm would go down easily. Now that's because you are properly organized. But if you're dealing with a frustration or a trauma or a block about success or achieving your goals, you're probably going to have that inverse polarity. So it's not a hard thing to fix, but there's some aspects that are important that you want some fine detail. But so let's say the easiest way would be generally to let's say let's do the simplest way. You would put your left ankle over your right hand out over your left, and interlock your fingers. Yep. And then just rest your hands, relax, and then tongue to the roof of your mouth as you breathe in. and then relax the tongue as you exhale. And you would do that for about 2 minutes. That charges all of the chakras so they get lined up, so you've had some short circuits, etc. So that feels really good. Then
That's feel good.
yeah, and then there's a spot on the middle of the kind of in the middle of the Pledge of Allegiance position. If you have your hand pressing on that spot and rub the spot on the chest, let's see, other hand and a little bit, there you go, that's okay. Yeah, perfect, right there. And you're going to rub clockwise as the clock is on your chest facing out. And you're just going to let these words go through you. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And if you haven't, if you've been struggling with some issues for a period of time, I would do that at least 50 times or 100.
Wow.
However, once you get into the swing of things, it's like 3 times. But there are different places that you can stimulate on the body with feedback loops to the brain to help accomplish the goals and to feel better and more clear and etc. I mean, let's put it this way, Larry King does the tapping too.
Okay.
So
yeah, talk to me about Larry King and how, because you've been on his show 4 times, and he's someone that I've had on my show. Absolutely love him, and I've learned so much through him, just through the way he communicates. So, how did you guys originally connect, and what has that relationship been like in your life?
Well, we've had a very good relationship. He also, I have another interest. I always try to give back. So we have a organization called Making the World a Better Place Foundation, and we're helping kids from distressed countries, etc. But you can actually Google that, Making the World a Better. Actually, the information's on my website if you're interested. But we actually filmed a half-an-hour video, and I asked Larry to participate in this, and so he did. Out of the goodness of his heart, he narrated part of the film. And so we've been out, we've been in social situations, we've been in a number of situations, and his 2 producers were close friends of mine, and that's how that's how we all got together. But he is very, very funny, and I'll tell you, most people see the serious side of him. I have seen him do stand-up comedy, and he was terrific. So, I mean, that's, if you can range.
When I interviewed him, he said if he wasn't someone that interviewed people, he wanted to be a stand-up comedian with his life.
And that's true.
Very cool.
Yeah, and he's funnier than heck.
Well, I want to be respectful of time. We have 2 more quick questions. Jacqueline, I'll let you go real quick.
Sure.
Dr. Pratt, I want to know, how do you define happiness, and what are some simple ways one can return back to center?
Okay, say the first part again. I didn't hear the first part.
How do you define happiness, and what are some of the ways one can bring themselves, if they're a little off center, back to center?
Right. There's lots of good things to be able to do for yourself. The balanced breathing that I just showed you is a very good way. And then tapping there. Take a look at the things on the website that will show you lots of different things. And then identify what your goals are. And then write to yourself, why haven't I gotten through these issues? So you do a little personal inventory, and in the books that I was talking about, they have a little inventory, so it'll help direct you to what the problems are. But if you have somebody, and you can look at these things online, you can have somebody that you can work with as a partner to help identify the issues so that you can do something about it. For example, the biggest issue for me to work on first is and with the erect arm is age 5 or less. So that would not be less than age 5. Age 6 to 10, that's strong. And you just go in and identify, let's say age 6. Okay, and then you think about what happened at age 6. Oh, that's when my dad left. And so then you go in and you treat that issue. So it's kind of like a Geiger counter when you do this, but it's a very useful tool. And energy psychology is a very exciting field, and just as it is, there's several other tools that are combining to help people to achieve their goals. And it also deals with some very significant issues. I mean, I've had plane crashes and all sorts of difficult things. But so it works at sort of the therapeutic level, but also for everyday sorts of things to help you to achieve your goals, be happier at home, help unblock yourself for exercise, unblock yourself for achieving your goals in work, business, etc. And so it's a wonderful tool, and then you can find somebody to work with that's also skilled in these areas. I mean, there are other people, and I mean, I do it on Skype and FaceTime and in my office, and but there are others, and because I've trained others. So,
just last question before we wrap it up. I know it's funny because I asked Larry this question and I loved his answer, and that is, so you've been able to work with a lot of highly successful people and help them identify their blockages. That being said, what do you believe makes successful people great in their area?
Kindness, caring about others, that helps create a positive bond with other people, and then working towards achieving your goals, but with an open heart.
Love that. Well, Dr. J.Pratt, that being said, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I'll make sure to put your website down below so that people can go check that out. But last thing, where is the best place for people to stay connected with you, to follow your journey as you're talking about this and doing interviews and changing the world in your own way?
Oh, they can just they can use the web address. It's got the phone number at the office, and so I do. They can also sign up to be on our email list.
Love it.
And because I will send out some information and do things at times that, trying to just help other people, and they can also probably pull up the items from the past that I've gone on to try to help people with too.
Perfect.
So it's and it's La Jolla, California, and
love it.
I think that'll do it.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. J.Pratt, thank you so much. And Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming on the episode as well. And everyone listening, make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Follow Dr. J.Pratt on Instagram. Go to his website.
Oh, thank you. I forgot about that.
You got to get him on Instagram.
Oh, geez. Rob told me. Rob was relentless. He said,
okay.
Are you on Instagram? I said, no. Are you on Instagram? I said, so the tables have turned now.
Yes.
You're kicking my butt.
Wow.
Yeah, so Instagram and I guess all of this.
Yeah, all social medias. I'll make sure to link them down below. That's how we connected. So I'll make sure to
reference
that.
Asking.
Absolutely. And Jacqueline, thank you so much as well.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Nice to see you.